Hey, welcome back. Cait, you worked at the YMCA for the longest time before you decided to go online. You were a director at the YMCA, right? What was your journey like there? How was your career? How was your first career at the YMCA? Tell me about that.
It was good. It was a good start to my career, and actually ended up there because my college professors are really great at creating opportunities for their students. And so I started as an intern for the Y, and then they hired actually someone else for the director position, an older person who had more experience. But then she decided not to take the job. And then it was me and some of my other peers who were applying for this position, and I got the position, and then I became the boss of my peers, which was kind of difficult. Yeah, it was a difficult transition, and I did a lot more work than expected, and I didn't really, hold those boundaries like I should have. But that's okay. It was a great experience, and I was only there about a year and a half before I moved and got a new job. But it was a great intro into the fitness world.
Into the fitness field. And then the new job was the University of Maine?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Okay, so what led to that job? Why did you move?
That was like my dream job, was to be on a college campus, being the director of fitness at a campus recreation center. Because again, in my undergrad studies, I had worked at the fitness center. It was just so much fun. Like this bunch of students, it feels like you stay younger when you're working with, the same age group all the time. And it was just always upbeat and positive. And I really liked that environment. And I liked teaching students how to be the best, group exercise instructor, personal trainer. Plus, it felt like I was making a difference in their actual lives, which is what I wanted to do.
Doing schooling there too. You were doing your master's there too at the time, right?
I was, yeah. So I did that because it was free, because I was an employee.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So I didn't go there.
I worked at the University Fitness and Recreation as a personal trainer too, and I will tell you what, the University of Western Ontario, you did not give me my education for free.
Well, that was when I was a professional. As a student worker in my undergrad, not for free.
Fair enough. Okay.
But when I moved and got my professional job as the director of fitness at the University of Maine, they gave free tuition if you worked there. You just had to pay for your books and any other supplies you needed. So I was like, well, I should probably do that. And so I did my master's.
You did your master's of education?
In kinesiology, yeah.
In kinesiology. And so what did you think your career was going to look like at that point? I'll get into you moving and the transition that led to in a minute. But back then, you're doing your master's of education kinesiology. You're working in what you thought was your dream job, by the sounds of it, on this campus with, kids who are reminding you of the Fountain of Youth, because
yes, right.
every year a new batch of 20-year-olds comes by and you're staying young as a result. Is that what you thought your life was going to be like? Did you think that you were going to move on from there? What were you thinking?
I didn't. I thought I would always work in the campus rec department, maybe move up and be not at that university, but maybe I knew I would move away at some point just because of the role of my husband's job as being a collegiate football coach. They move a lot. That's just
okay.
Then that's just part of the job.
I didn't know he was a football coach. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. And so I knew I wouldn't stay there forever, but I thought that, I could get another job at another university. And so I thought that would be what I would do forever, is stay in that role.
I didn't realize your dad, your husband, I didn't realize your husband was a collegiate football coach. We know a number of people who work in collegiate football just by virtue of Allison was a cheerleader at university, so all of her friends were cheerleaders, and many of the cheerleaders dated the football players, and a lot of the football players became football coaches. So we know that world a little bit, and it's wild how much they move around, how short-term the positions are. So, So he got a job. And you moved in 2019?
Yeah, 2019.
Yeah.
And that was really hard because I applied to a job as the assistant director for fitness at the Illinois State University. And I was like, I'm going to get this job. I'm overqualified for it. Like, there's no way I'm not going to get this job. I thought, I'm a very big believer. My faith is a huge part of this. So I was like, this is exactly what God wants me to do. So this is like no brainer. But they called me when I was driving. They're like, sorry, you didn't get the job. And I just cried. I was like, what am I going to do? I thought this was like a no-brainer.
This is what I do. Yeah.
Right. This is like what? But so that was really hard.
Did you have kids at that point?
I did. I had a 3-year-old and a 9-month-old at the time.
So newly moved to a new area. Your husband's going to be away a fair bit just because the team's going to travel. 9-month-old and a 3-year-old. And so is that then when they called when you were driving in the car? Is that when you're like, well, I gotta get something going online? Like it sounds like, just by knowing you and speaking to our coaches who work with you, it sounds like when you started in 2019 a little bit online, you were kind of like 1 foot in, like you were 100% into it, right?
Right. So I was, well, in 2019, I guess I just decided to pivot. It was like a month later, and I was like, I should just go online. I had actually already been taking a Jill Coleman's, she had like a DIY start your business kind of course. Yeah. And so I had actually did that for whatever reason, I don't know, prior to even moving. Because I was like, maybe I'll go online, because again, I was starting to realize like my husband's applying for jobs. We're going to move. I don't know what the future holds. Why not try this? And so I already had some knowledge there, and I was like, I could do this. And I just launched my business in May of 2019, end of May, and we moved in April. And so I pivoted, and that's what I did. So
you got ahead of the shutdowns.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness. So it's been 5 years.
Yeah.
When did you join up with us then?
This past May.
So what was going on then between 2019 and 2023? What was going on in those 4 years? Were you working for any campus? Did you end up getting a job anywhere else? Were you fully online that whole time?
I was fully online that whole time because I just realized that, I'm just going to stay home with my kids. Yeah. That was my number one. Well, it took a long time for me to realize that my number one job is kids. I have young kids. And then I had my third kid in 2020, summer of 2020.
Wow. Okay.
It was always a constant struggle for me of like, my business, but my kids, my business, but my kids, and who needs me the most? And like, my husband always kept saying like, it's going to be fine. Cause I felt like so much pressure to make money for our family. Cause when we moved, my husband actually took a pay cut, and then we took another pay cut because I didn't have a full-time job anymore. So I felt this huge pressure to contribute to the family, but he's the one that kept telling me like, we're going to be fine. We don't, just take care of the kids and do that, because it was so stressful that I wasn't showing up the way that I wanted to for my kids, And so it took a couple years for me to be like, kids first, business second. In that period of time is how I had to look at it.
Were there any moments where that really hit for you? Like, can you remember any moment in time where you were kind of struggling between the two of those?
I can't remember a specific moment, but I felt like it always came in waves of like, I don't know how to explain it, but like, I wish I could do more in the business, but I don't want to wish my time away because the kids are only young once. Don't want to wish that away. And then, so I can't remember a specific time, but I just remember just having so much anxiety around like, I'm not making very much money this month. Like, I need to do more. And him always being like, it's fine. Show up for the kids. We can, like, you can do more in your business when they are more, in school more. And so that's where I came to you guys. And I had actually looked into joining OTM in January of 23, but I didn't move forward. Okay. I had a call with someone, don't remember, but I didn't do it. And then this past May, I was like, I think now's the time. Actually, no, now didn't feel like the time. It still felt like too much, but I was like, if not now, when? And so sometimes I felt like I was hiding behind my kids of like, I don't know, like hiding behind them, like using them sometimes as an excuse of like not doing the things now because they are getting older and can do more and they're going to be in school more. Yeah. And so I'm like, wait, now's the time to push myself. Now's the time to take this to the next level because I don't want to go back to the workforce. This is what I want to do.
This is what you want to do now. You know it. What an interesting nuance wrinkle to that conversation, though. This idea of there are expiring moments and there are unexpiring moments in life. I mean, I guess life is expiring if you want to get morbid, but like there's expiring and there's unexpiring moments. Mm-hmm. Expiring moments, top of the mind, of course, I have young kids too, or moments with your children. Like Calvin asked me to read to him at night. in one more chapter 3 different times, even though we agree that this is going to be the last chapter before he goes to sleep. And I have my own book to read, or I want a little bit of time with Allison, or whatever.
Yes, yeah.
And then I think, well, he's 7. There's not going to be a lot longer where Calvin is going to want to lie in bed with me at night and have me read to him while we snuggle. Like, that's an expiring moment. And I know that I'm going to miss that, but still, this dumb part of my brain makes me think that whatever else I have to do is more important, which it's not, obviously. But you just added another wrinkle to that, which is, but also, am I hiding behind that a little bit? Wow, what a question. What a question. And so it sounds like your husband kind of called you out on this.
Yeah, probably. He's always my biggest cheerleader, my biggest fan, but also the one that pushes me in the right way, if that makes sense. Not like do more, but hey, I think now is the time if you want to do this.
Yeah. Yeah, it says here, like, you were just floating along, doing your own thing with no direction.
Yeah.
And you were about to quit.
Yeah, I wanted to quit so many times because, well, not before I came with you, probably in January, I mentioned to him, I was like, I think I want to just be done with this because I have no direction. I almost felt unfulfilled because I didn't have that direction. Like, I couldn't see how I could grow with what I was currently doing because I didn't have the processes, the systems, or even like what to do.
What was the business like? Like, how many clients did you have? What was your day like?
I've had a good core. I've always had probably at least 10 clients. And I could, make anywhere from 500 to 1,500 a month. And 2,000 would be like, whoa, doing big.
This was from like 2019 to 2023 or so. Yeah.
I just didn't have direction. And I didn't see I'm like, how are these people doing this? I just couldn't comprehend. I'm like,
that's
how
such
are they growing?
Yeah. How are these people? I hear about people doing this. Are they lying? What's going on? What do they know that I don't know? Is the question that I get so often. Like, what can they possibly know that I don't know? I can't possibly be missing that much. And I think what you probably realize, what a lot of people realize, I can't speak for you, what a lot of people realize before they work with us, after they work with us, is they weren't actually missing that much. There were just a few levers. There were a few kind of just keys to turn to fill in those gaps where they were working, in many cases, just as hard. Sometimes they work harder when they come with us, for sure. Because when things start to work, we naturally start to work a little bit harder because it's fun and we see results, but also it's like it's a new set of problems, right? But oftentimes, they're not actually working any harder when they come with us. You could say they're working smarter. I don't even know if that encapsulates it, though. They're just working more on the things that have positive effects for their business, for the type of businesses they want to grow. What are you doing that's not impactful that you can't see because you're too close to your own thing?
Right.
Man, that's what my wife is for because she calls me out on that all the time. John, what are you not seeing right now? John, You haven't spoken to another human for 4 days. Maybe you should talk to somebody else.
Yeah.
I mean, we all need coaches, right? Sure. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Okay. So what was your day like then? We'll say like circa 2019 to 2023, or I guess early 2024 is when you started working with us and kind of things started to change, and we'll get to that. But from like 2019 to 2024, you had done this do-it-yourself program, and it was great. It was Jill's great, like as good as of a do-it-yourself program as it could be, right? It's like anything else. It's like, well, how good of a job is somebody going to get when you give them a program and you say, go do it, versus when you have an expert coach who's working you through it to say, hey, here's your gaps, hey, here's your mental blocks. Like, it's just totally different conversation. What was your day like? Like morning to night? Do you remember?
Well, I do, but it's so many different seasons because kids get older every year, right? So when I started, I had a 3-year-old and 9-month-old, and then now they're 8, 6, and 4.
Wild.
Yeah. Like, how'd that happen?
You're on a schedule.
Yeah. Yeah. So my days were like, so when I first started, I was like, for a while, I was doing it like, I don't even know. I was missing bedtime for one when I first started. Every night, like I would be working at my computer and my husband would, thankfully he was, well, no, that's funny. Well, anyways, he would be home and was able to put the kids to bed and do all that. And the one time it clicked for me where I'm missing bedtime is that like he started doing bedtime prayers with them.
Yeah.
And I didn't even know. I'm like, oh, you've been doing this? He's like, yeah, I've been doing this for like months. And I'm like,
How do you think these children are getting to bed?
Yeah.
Did you think that they were just not brushing their teeth?
Yeah. And so I was like, oh man, I don't want to miss out on that. But also I knew like this is my time. So then I put them in daycare 2 days a week, and that felt like a stretch because I was like, do we even have the money to put them in daycare 2 days a week full time? But it's like, this is something I have to do if I want to grow, because I can't do this with a 3-year-old and, now 1-year-old or whatever, at home. It just isn't.
Your work time was mostly at night?
Yeah, and nap times. Yep.
And nap times, you were fitting it in kind of in and around that. Okay. Yeah, that's hard. Okay, so COVID happened.
Yeah, so COVID happened and then daycare shut down.
Yeah.
But actually, that actually ended up working out well for us, because then my husband in the fall didn't have a season and he was home. And so we would actually split time. Like he would take the morning and we'd switch on and off. But like he would take the morning with the kids and I would take, the afternoon with the kids, and we would switch work time. So I was like able to do a ton of stuff. And I think I did your founding client challenge. Then I did a 60 days to sustainable weight loss program.
Cool.
And got people in there and was able to get a lot of, I don't know, I was just able to do way more. And I was like, this is fun. And I was like, no, COVID's not great, but it worked out well for us. Like that it was like kind of good timing for us that I was able to do more because he was home.
It's so, now that we're enough out of it that we can reflect back, and it's kind of one of those like, oh, remember when that happened moments? The wounds are now not fresh enough that we can talk perhaps more reasonably about the effects of it. Not that we'd wish shutdowns or COVID-19 or pandemic or anything like that to ever happen again, but it's so interesting how many people I spoke to that's like, no, it was hard. Like, it was hard at times, but yeah, no, things are way better now than they were beforehand. And it seems like for a lot of people, that was the pressure that they needed to make diamonds. That was the constraint that they needed to say, things are not really going that well now, but I never was forced to kind of figure it out, or to figure out who I was, or to figure out who I wanted to be, or to be around, right? Or who I missed being around, even. And then coming out of it, of course, a lot of people have kind of figured some stuff out about themselves. Not across the board. There was a lot of suffering. Okay. So OTM must have been a pretty big investment for you then.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
What made you know that it was the right move?
That's a good question. And I don't know, because like I said, I had already been through the process once and had the call and said no. About a year and a couple months before that. And for some reason I just said no then. And this time, I just said yes, because again, I came back to like, am I hiding? Right? Am I using my kids as an excuse not to grow because maybe I'm scared of something, of not being able to do this? Or I don't know. I've kind of tried to reflect on it. And I was like, I'm not going to have the time. Like, but there's always like, was that your
biggest doubt or concern going into it? I mean, aside from the money, that you wouldn't have enough time to kind of commit to it?
Right. Because summer was coming. And when summer comes, my kids are home all day, every day. Yeah.
There's a line that you wrote here, one of the questions that you filled out, I know it was a while ago you filled this out, so I'll remind you. It was, what doubts or concerns did you have at the time? And can I read you what you wrote at the end of it?
Yeah, what did I write?
You wrote, holy crap, I can't believe we just spent that money on me.
Yes. Yeah.
I'd love to know more about that.
Yeah. So, it, I don't, it just feels like, if my husband came to me and said, I want to, go spend this amount of money in something, I mean, I'm sure I'd give him the same, yeah, let's do this, because I have very, I have no doubts in him that whatever he goes and does, he's going to make it successful. But to see that, like, it really brought out in me that he has that same, feeling towards me that maybe we've never talked about. It's like unspoken. And so he sees something in me that was like, yeah, you can do this. Like, he probably has more belief in me than I do, honestly. So to say, like, I just felt it. I hear a lot of my clients say this, so I can feel where they're coming from. Is like, I feel selfish spending this money on me. But like, you reframe it and be like, I can make more for my family. I can do more for my family by spending this money, by investing in myself, and showing my kids also that, like, because like they don't get it yet, but I can see that they're starting to get that. Like, I have my own business. I work at it. I work hard at it. And so they're just now, like, starting to understand. They're like, Mom, did you get the client for that money?
Aww.
I'm like, well, and I'm like,
can I get a new Lego set?
Right. Yeah. They love Legos. They have not put that together yet.
Oh, they will.
Yeah, they will. So anyways, yeah, back to that. Like, yeah, holy crap. I can't believe we spent that much money. Because also, like, I don't spend money on myself hardly ever. Like, I'm very much like, let's just save our money. You never know what's going to happen. Like, and so it felt hard. When my husband, he's very smart with money, but he's also like, it's a tool. He's very much like, money is a tool and to get to where we want to go. And this is if you think this is going to help you and you've done your research, like, and you're not just throwing money out, then yeah, like, let's do this. And it took me a while to get over the hump of like, I got to and Krista was very good at reminding me of like, okay, like, not a big deal. Take it slow. Cause I was like, full speed ahead, gotta do all the things, gotta make my money back. And her and my husband were both like, no, you don't. Like, well, you do, but like, it will come. Don't burn yourself out. Right. It's a process. Don't burn yourself out. Cause I'm very much like, go 110% and then completely burn out. And then
I wonder if, Krista's so wonderful. You're for anybody who doesn't know, we have success coaches that match with everybody, all of the students in the mentorship, and Krista's one of the success coaches, and I know you said that you're a big believer in God, you're very religious, and Krista is as well, often, as you know, right? And I wonder if both of your connections there really helped just get through some of that kind of muddy starting bit. I have found it's interesting because I grew up traditionally ethnically Jewish and had a bar mitzvah, and my upbringing was definitely Jewish. We weren't religious, but we went to synagogue. We had Friday night dinners. And I lost all connection to the faith for 20, 25 years, and I'm slowly finding my way back to something. I say something because I don't quite know what it is. It seems to be an amalgam of different religions. And I'm really enjoying the process of listening to sermons sometimes as podcasts from different preachers. I'll read stories from Islam. I'll obviously read Jewish stories, and I'll try to take different things because there's so much more alike and similar between them than there is different. And I'm trying to find something, right? But overwhelmingly, one thing that I have noticed is the people who I know that are observant in some way of religion, less spirituality, which is kind of just religion rebranded, but the people who I know who are observant with religion specifically, who have some sort of deity or God that they believe in, seem to have an ability to trust the process more, to believe more, to have faith that if they take the right actions day after day, good things are going to work out, and not fall prey to a lot of the immediate gratifications or negative self-talks that we all have. I mean, we're all going to have it. It's a matter of whether it's going to kind of absorb you. Just as you were talking and knowing Krista, I'm glad that you two were paired together.
Yeah, me too. It's been great. And I would agree. It's like I trust the process, and I trust that whatever is going to happen, like God is good. Like if I completely fail, it's okay. A pivot. We need to, like, I'm going to be devastated, and it might take me, some time, but that's the process.
Well, I mean, you've already done well. So where are you at now? So you said before, most months were sort of 500, 1,500. If you hit 2,000, it'd be like crazy month.
Yeah.
Where are you at now?
I think that's fine. I don't even know if I wrote it down, but now, I think I feel like I've gone really slow for whatever reason, but now I'm definitely more probably like 2 to 3.5 is where I'm at. So I know I'm definitely still trying to grow and still trying to get better at all the things.
But what it sounds like is that, your old ceiling has now become your new floor.
Yeah, no, that's true.
How cool is that?
That's a good way to put that. Yeah, that's cool.
How cool is that? I mean, it's also very different, of course, where people live. I think a lot of folks take that for granted. Like, I laugh so hard. Do you know Amber?
I don't know her. No, but I listened to your
you know
your
who
podcast,
she is.
so,
okay.
Yeah.
So, I mean, Amber and I, talk all the time. She's, we jokingly call her my work wife. She's just amazing. Like we're best friends. And so she told me, this is a while ago. This is a few years ago, but she's like, yeah, I'm putting my house up on the market. She's in South Carolina, she said. And she's in like kind of a tourist town, like not a super cheap town, right? But she's in South Carolina in the States. She said she's putting her house up on the market, but she's kind of afraid that it might be hard to sell because it's one of the nicer houses in the neighborhood, and it's definitely a high price point and might be a bit hard to sell. So I asked her. So I said, oh, what is it? What are you listing it at? And she told me, I think she said like $320,000. I spit my coffee at the screen. Because in Toronto, I mean, we have townhouses that back onto train tracks around the corner from me, selling for 1.6, 1.7 million.
Oh my gosh.
I mean, it's just different in different places. And I think that's very important to keep in mind when you kind of listen to these types of stories. You have one person who was like, I'm making whatever, $30,000, $40,000, $50,000 a month. Or it's like, yeah, but you live in New York City. That's very different than making, you could make $2,000, $3,000 a month in a lot of places and live pretty well.
A rural town in Michigan, so.
Right. Like, what does a house in your neighborhood go for?
Probably 200, maybe 200K.
Oh my God. I can't even imagine what that would be like.
with a yard. Right.
Well, that's the thing, right? These houses, these townhouses, like, they don't have yards. It's just different. It's just different. And so I think it's very, very important to keep in mind when you look at numbers, or when you look at growth, or when you look at what people are selling packages for, or whatever it is, that it's just wildly different in different areas. Who is it? Mark Fisher Fitness, had a gym and has a gym still in New York City, and they were constantly ranked as like, one of the whatever fastest growing gyms in the States, or they said, their gym grosses whatever millions of dollars. Is like, yeah, but it also costs them whatever millions of dollars to run. And in New York City, you can charge $300 an hour for personal training because that's just what it costs. And so the numbers aren't the entire story. What are a few of the top takeaways that you've had from your experience so far then with OTM? What are some of the things that you've really learned about yourself?
Well, I've learned, like, I think, again, my mindset has changed to settle into the process more. I don't know why, but right, like, we want fast results too. But even though I teach my clients fast results aren't sustainable, right? So it's the same in business or anything you try, really. So just to settle into the process and not put so much pressure on myself to perform, but just to know that every day is a day that I get to try my best and do what I can, and know that that's enough. And not to, because like at the beginning I was so stressed, and Krista would be like, take a deep breath.
Yeah.
She's like, it's gonna be fine. Because I'd be like, like I was just like so stressed. I would like be crying, like, I can't do this. Like, this is a lot. And that hasn't happened. Like, that was a weekly thing for me I felt like at the start of summer with my kids and doing the start of OTM. But then I learned to settle into the process, do the things that you all teach, and trust the process.
It was everything at once. Yeah.
Right. So that, and then learning that like, I'm not actually selling, like, because sometimes I would feel like I'm just reaching out to people to try and sell, where it's like not like that anymore. Not that that's how I was, but that's how my mindset was. And that always felt not genuine to me, but that's how my mindset was. Does that make sense? So I didn't feel like I wanted to reach out.
Such a common fear. Like, oh, I'm just trying to get something from these people. It's like, no. You're actually trying to change their lives and be compensated a relatively small amount of money in comparison to the change that you're helping facilitate.
Right. So that's been my other huge takeaway is like, I'm actually, not that I wasn't before. I hope I'm explaining this right, but like, I'm trying to change people's lives, and I'm actually curious more about people and how they're doing, because it's the long haul mentality, create the relationships. They may not buy or invest in you right now.
Right.
But as long as I keep those people that I know could use my help and have expressed some interest before, I keep checking in, see how they're doing, and know that maybe they'll become a client in 5 years. I don't know, but to just be actually genuinely care for them and know that like I don't have to rush that process with them if they're actually not interested. And then that people actually do appreciate you reaching out. Like so many people have been like, oh, like I've had quite a few. It's like, I don't think this person even cares, but she's watched my story, so I'm going to message her, and then they're like, oh, thank you so much for reaching out. I've been really watching your stories. You're so inspiring, and I need to do XYZ, but I haven't been able to, and I'm like, oh, wow.
Amazing. Right. Yeah.
Had no idea. Okay, so this does work.
Isn't that wild? How much our self-talk is the opposite of what's really happening. Oh my goodness. Yeah, just this people are like, "Oh my god, thank you for reaching out." Like I didn't know you were real human. I didn't know we could have this conversation. You're like, "Yes, I'd like to be social on social media. That sounds wonderful. Thank you so much."
Right. So, yeah, building more of those connections and actually being social. Because I shy away from it. I know you've talked about this, I feel like before too, is like, I think, I don't know, but like, it's sometimes I don't like to be on it. I just like, ugh. So like, sometimes I get like, I don't want to be on it anymore. That was the other thing with starting my business online too. It's like, I didn't want to be on my phone all the time in front of my kids. Like, and that boundary is so hard to set. I feel like I'm still working on it. I know in some of your podcasts, you talked about leaving your phone at the door or something somewhere. I just still find it like so hard. But because I don't want to be on my phone all the time in front of my kids, because you miss so much and they're trying to get your attention. And like when they say like some bombs, like, "Mom, you're on your phone" or something, you're like, "Oh, sorry." Like, pay attention to me.
See, my kids just say, just come and cuddle up next to me when I'm on my phone, and they're like, "Watch Spider-Man, robot movie." That's what I hear. "Daddy, robot movie." No, Jaden, I'm not watching a robot movie.
Oh, like they want to watch it on your phone. Gotcha.
Because we don't have a TV. And so occasionally we'll watch a movie on a computer. But usually if we're going to watch a show or something, we'll watch it on our phone with the kids. And so they're used to that. They're used to that. If we're at a friend's house or something, we'll watch TV, but the phone to them is basically the television.
I'll get on a client call or any calls and my kids at home, like, "Can you watch a show?" They're like conditioned to be like, because that's what I've always had to do when they were younger. like, it's like, okay, I have a client call. I can't be dealing with your fighting while I'm on the call. So this is how I know you're not going to fight.
Okay. I really enjoyed chatting with you. I'm going to ask you one more thing, which is just if somebody was thinking about starting with the Online Trainer Mentorship and they're not quite sure about it. Maybe it's big financial leap for them. Maybe they're scared because they won't have the time. What would you say to them, having been on the other end of that?
Yeah, I would say, as with anyone probably going through it, is like, I would say just do it. At some point, you have to take that leap and jump over that fear. And, if not now, when? Because you're never going to have the time unless you start making the time. But also know that, like, I would also say that your success coaches and the way that you guys run everything is very customizable, and like working with you, like, and pushing you, but also not pushing you to like keep producing past like your mental, physical limits. And also, I love that you also, it seems like, have a value of still, you need to take care of yourself. So you guys are very much like, you need to take care of yourself, but also like will push you to do the things that you need to do in your business to move you along. So I was scared about the time, right? And like, I'm not going to be able to do it, but I was able to do it with 3 kids at home over the summer.
Yeah.
And that felt very hard, but I was able to do it. And Krista, my success coach, was great. Everyone was great. And just creating that culture of like, you do, because I stopped taking care of myself to do the things. I'm like, they can't do that.
You can't do that. No. I'm glad you noticed that. We actually have our team check in and report on, we call it physiological check-in. And they'll send they don't have to, but everybody chooses to. We're not going to force people to do this. But they rate their physiology and then they report back on what they did today to take care of themselves.
Yeah,
went
that's
for a
huge.
walk, went for whatever. And we've always had a budget for things like mental health support within the company. I want to be doing this for a long time. And so I'm glad you noticed that. I mean, it's something we don't talk about.
Yeah, well, I think it's huge. I'm the first one, it was just like, okay, if I'm not taking care of myself, like that's a value to me, is to be fit and healthy forever. And if I'm not doing it, how can I expect my clients to do it? And also, I can't show up the way that I want to show up for everyone if I'm not taking care of myself. And I didn't like who I was when I stopped doing my walks. When I that was the biggest thing. I was like, well, I don't have time to walk now. like, oh, that's just silly, right?
To live a life where you don't have time to go for a walk or 2 a day is not a life that.
Right. So I want to build a sustainable business. That's always been a lifestyle business. Like, I want to build something. I don't need to make a ton of money, but I want to have the lifestyle where I have time to take care of myself, take care of my kids, and and be there for them. As much as I can.
Well, I love it. Glad to be a small part on the journey with you. Super fun to chat with you, Cait.
It's been great. So I would say go do it.
Appreciate you so much.